Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. Back with another episode of the Workshop Podcast. Tonight is March 20th, 2022, and this is episode 85 of the Workshop Podcast. And I've got an extra special guest tonight. I've got something playing. There we go. Kill that. And I've got an extra special guest tonight, Nicole Sauce, coming on. She, obviously, you guys almost all know her, but from living free in Tennessee. And the very first time I was ever on anyone else's podcast was hers. So it's an absolute honor to have her on. Real quick, we'll knock out our announcements and we'll bring her on. So Telegram, you guys, I've been flogging this dead horse like crazy, but come over and join the Telegram chat channel. We have a lot of fun. And last night, after our Saturday night live stream, we ended up doing a live chat, a video chat where anybody who wanted to could come on. If you wanted to stay in your PJs and just audio chat, it was that too, but it was great. We got the tech bugs worked out, but the link is in the description below, so check that out. Number two, this is a good one, of course, but if you like coffee, check out Nicole's Holler Roast Coffee. It's incredible. I had the Brazilian roast this year, and it was quite possibly the best coffee I've ever had. It was so good. And for anyone listening on the audio only feed, the audio podcast afterwards, take a minute and leave me a review if you don't mind. That's what helps grow this podcast. We're growing like crazy, and it's because of you guys. So take a minute. I'll run through it another evening, but it's so simple to do. Leave a 5-star review or whatever you feel like it. So without further ado, let's bring on Nicole Sauce. Hey, Nicole.
Hey.
How are you?
5 stars.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. So how you been?
It's been a weekend.
Well, so how many times have we tried this now?
This is our third try.
Yes. And it almost didn't happen again, did it?
I was so excited to hijack your podcast. I was ready. Nighthawk and I were like, okay, what can we talk about? But
I tell you, so
now
guys,
here you are. So
this is what friends are for. I mean, we've never met in real life, but I do consider you a friend and I appreciate it. And I messaged you less than 2 hours ago and said, Nicole, I'm at the vet with my Chihuahua and it's an emergency and I might not make it back in time. And without skipping a beat, you just said, hey, I'll hijack the podcast with Nighthawk and we'll be good. So thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm sure almost everyone in here knows who you are, but if you don't mind, just share a little. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what was your first high school job, that kind of shit.
Oh, that's a fun one. My first job at 13 years old was working as a teller at a pharmacy in Bethesda, Maryland.
Really? What did
Nobody
you do
knows
there?
that. No.
Nobody's
That's
ever
how I learned how to count change.
That is a lost art. Oh my God.
It is a lost art. I know how to do it. People watch me do it. And there's always this moment of, whoa, she knows how to do that. It was one of the best lessons I had. And that's because my dad lived in Oregon. My mom lived in the DC area. And I was lucky enough to get that job. And from there, I had jobs every summer. That was a summer job. But in high school, I was more of a big government, socialist, communist kind of person because I love people. I think people should be taken care of. And I thought the government could do that. And as I dove into that concept, I realized that's completely unfair.
100%.
The way it gets executed is completely unfair. And it's not going to work if the government does it. And so I embraced a more liberty-based perspective, started working at free market think tanks after being an executive trainer, and worked on public policy reform in the United States for 14 years.
Whew.
I worked with some of your Canadian friends who, if you are in the policy world, I'm probably still friends with them because there aren't very many out there.
No. We are few and far between up here.
Few and far between. And one day I just realized everything I'm doing here, we make progress in this direction and we step back in this direction. And what I need to do is focus on, well, basically shoring up what I do so I have the strength to help other people when other people can be helped, which is sort of like putting on your oxygen mask on the airplane before you put the oxygen mask on your child. And the more people I can help start living the life they choose, building the business they want, having the family they want, having the friends they want, the more people I can help just get going, the better I'll be. I started Living Free in Tennessee, which is my podcast. I launched Hollow Roast Coffee. That's a whole different story we're not going into right now. And somehow I've made that all work. And I have a lifestyle business on a homestead in Tennessee where we raise animals for meat and eggs, and we raise vegetables, and we preserve all those things. And we teach people how to do that who want more control in their lives.
So, funny story about Living Free in Tennessee. I'll tell you right quick, because so years ago when I first found out about you, I didn't listen to your podcast for a little while because I thought I had to live in Tennessee to listen to it. And then I realized, no, stupid, she's living free in Tennessee and she's sharing with everyone else how to live free in Tennessee. So,
yeah, that's a bad marketing decision I made a long time ago that I can't unmake. But
whatever.
You're not the only one who thinks, wait, I don't live in Tennessee. That said, I have listeners all over the world, and some people figured it out.
So what do they say about a libertarian? A libertarian's just someone who hasn't realized they're an anarchist yet?
Yeah, I totally have been an anarchist for a long time.
Don't you find that? I know we're going to go off on a tangent. Don't you find that word scares normie sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like to use the word voluntarist because they get this dumbass look on their face like, I don't know what that is. And that's okay, and because everybody thinks anarchist is like some James Bond villain or something, that wants to just unleash terror on everybody. And it's kind of sad.
I want to be a James Bond villain, kind of.
Yep.
I mean, doesn't everybody?
I mean, I guess if they paid me, I guess the pay must be pretty good. I don't know. What do you think?
They ask for lots of money when they hold things hostage.
That's true. Like $1 million,
100
yes.
billion dollars.
And Nate says he's glad he wasn't the only one about living free in Tennessee. I just got to bust you a little bit because, I appreciate you. So
I know, and I'm not changing the name. I did look. So about 3 years ago, I looked at the Living Free podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody already has it.
And it's a little generic too, really.
Yeah.
I love Living Free in Tennessee, and it's my own blind. I mean, the workshop, how much more generic and bland is than the workshop? You know what I mean? So it happens. Like sometimes you get stuck with a brand. Eventually you develop it enough.
Yeah, it is what it is. At this point, I'm not changing it. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
It rhymed. That was why I chose the name. It rhymed.
It does too, doesn't it? Yeah, it just rolls off the tongue. So yeah. So I don't we can go 100 directions with it, but I wanted you to come on because I would like my plan. Of course, I'm trying to build an empire as well, a good empire, a community, right? Mm-hmm. And my plan long-term is to have a get together, probably copy almost exactly what you do up here in Canada next summer. 2023 is my goal. So how did you start? How does one start? What do you do? Where the hell do you go?
Well, the event I do is I do a spring workshop annually. We bring in 60 to 80 people, and I don't ever go over 80 people because we would lose the small event relationship thing. And the whole point of having this workshop is not the skills you learn, not the projects we work on, not the booze we drink, not the karaoke we sing, right?
Yep.
It's not the camping we do. It is to establish close relationships in the network so that a year from now, when you come back to my workshop, you've used those relationships to further your life. Whether that's start a business, whether it's learn something new, whatever it is. And it's become a combination of a family reunion and then new people coming in who are like, hey, what's it like to be around a bunch of people who say, I want to do a thing, and then they do a thing.
Yeah.
And they encourage each other to do a thing, right? That's the vibe we've been going through for the whole time. And that took a lot of purposeful input on content, but also a lot of inputs from other people. I would have never had the first spring workshop had I not gone to Jack Spirko's workshop.
Yep.
He has a thing we do here too called the barter blanket. Okay. And on the barter blanket, he put up that he would show up anywhere in the country and marry you or do whatever you wanted, speak. And then this other guy elbowed me and said, you need to get that. And I swear to God that they told him to do that. He did that for me to do my workshop. I swear to God, it was all orchestrated behind my back. So having him at my first workshop made me able to sell tickets at the first workshop.
Yep.
The minute people heard in my network that I was doing this, Sean Mills showed up from Hack My Solar.
Yep.
And said, Nicole, we need to make Tennessee a destination workshop area. What can I do to make this awesome? We need to be the alternative to TSP's workshop, right?
Nice.
And so I said, well, I mean, look around my homestead, man. Like, how am I having a freaking event here? I don't have an outdoor shower. I don't have outhouses. Like, I got 2 months to get this done. And every weekend, almost, different people from the network came and helped build outhouses, help put together infrastructure, and get it all lined out. And those people come to the event every single year.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And so without the community, it would not have happened. And it just started with relationships. And I mean, I didn't know Sean until I went to Jack's. But then after Jack's, he and his wife started coming and hanging out, and we'd sit around the campfire and drink beer and shoot the shit. And then we like to do things, so we'd get bored and we'd start working on stuff.
Yep.
And then I went to his place, so it was this conglomeration of the right people in the right place.
I know, like, I don't think Jack knows 10% of what he's responsible for. And he does it. He's so out there, you know what I mean? He's so intentional about it, but it's just who he is, right? He just kind of, if he sees a doer, he wants to encourage somebody to be a doer. And yeah, I love it. How did the first one go? I mean, yeah, was it an overwhelming success? Everything went absolutely perfect. Yep. I figured I'd get a head nod or a head shake there.
Is anything ever an overwhelming success? So the first workshop was a success. David Siegler and Jack came up, and they were like, hey, while we're there, because we're just speaking a bunch and we'll have all this extra time.
Yep.
We'll just build you an aquaponics system.
That's awesome.
So they did this build the whole time, which I hadn't planned to have in my workshop. And as a result, there's been something like that every workshop, because if you didn't want to go to sessions, you could go see what was up with the rocket mass heater one year, or what was up with the aquaponics system, all of those things. And you weren't feeling duty bound to sit there and watch whoever's speak. So that was really, really helpful. I would say the first workshop, I was really lucky to have Jenny, who's now a holler neighbor, running food, because she made the food happen. But we learned a lot about how much staff we need. We ended up conscripting different participants to get stuff done. And because our network is awesome, everybody who had also paid a not insignificant amount of money to be at the workshop was still willing to do things like change poop buckets in the outhouse, or bring food out for people because I didn't have enough kitchen staff. And it all worked. The good news was I had been to Jack's, seen how he ran it, copied some of his ideas. Those worked. And then we did the first workshop, and we made it through. Everybody had a great time. And people who were at that first workshop have been at every workshop.
I think the highlight every year, I don't know. I can't decide whether my favorite episode of yours every year are the night before Christmas episodes or the first episode, or it's not always the first episode, but your after event episode. Last year it was, the lady from Michigan.
Yeah.
She's going to shoot me because I can't remember her name, and I've talked to her 100 times, and I'm sorry. But anyway,
Are you a terrible person who doesn't know who Crystal is?
Thank you, Crystal Morelli, right?
Morelli, yeah.
Anyway, I did a whole video.
That was great. Oh, yeah. She saved my butt on that one.
Oh, because she literally, I was a single lady, relatively newly divorced, I think, from the way it sounded in her story. And she just hopped her ass in a vehicle and drove all the way from Michigan to you, right?
Yeah. Camping.
Yeah.
I mean, she knows how to camp, but you come here. I had several ladies last time who had never camped. or hadn't camped much, hadn't camped alone, were like, screw it. I'm going to Nicole's. I'm going to camp. I'm going to do this thing. And then other ladies who did camp were like, we got your back, man. Right. And they had this whole little enclave going on. It was great.
So how did, like, the first one, you know, I mean, like you said, part of being successful is frigging up and screwing up a little bit and learning from it and moving on. But how do you figure out, like, I mean, first off, how did you measure if it was a success for you, the first one?
For me, it was all about if the participants enjoyed it, right?
Okay.
Even at my ticket price level, I did not make any money on that first one, nor the second one, nor the third one.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So, and that is because every time you have one, you realize it would be really nice if we had a classroom.
Right.
Or so there's always something that you can add, and eventually you get to a point where it's all there. I'm not to that point yet, but I'm getting closer, right? We built Taj Mahal this year. It's going to be awesome. So I think the way you know it's successful is if you spark those relationships that endure over time. If you see people becoming more successful year over year, and we've seen that, if people are coming back time and again, that all makes a big difference. And Ken's saying, or a Taj Mahal, or he built it.
I was going to shout out to him. Yeah. How is it? It's still standing, right, Ken?
We hung 4 500-pound pigs on Taj Mahal and processed them this weekend.
That Ken is something.
It did not fall down, Ken. You passed the stress test.
Here's another one for you. JS says he loves, or I'm not sure if that's a guy or girl, but they love kids, but it was nice to have an adults only event. What do you think about that? You can talk about that. Sure.
Yeah, we are adults only. And there have been children who come in with permission for a limited amount of time, but at my event, drinking happens, swearing happens, adulting happens. And do you want your kids around that? Also, I'm on a homestead. There are roughly 300,000 ways your kid can hurt him or herself. Okay. And so unless you have the kind of child who knows how to be around a homestead, or you're able to pay attention to them, it does not make sense. I have had chickens killed by children here.
Wow. Like it doesn't matter, period.
I haven't allowed them during my workshop. If somebody was 14 or 15 and and a parent wanted to bring them, that would be fine. That's a little different, but I have had kids scream at my chickens and terrify them to death. And so when I'm running an event and I can't pay attention to the children on my homestead, I don't need the livestock implications. It's just I got burned bad.
Yeah.
So it's not that kids are never here, but I like to make it so kids are here in a way that is positive for me and for the children. And during my workshop, it's an adults workshop. Like literally, we are learning about homesteading. We are building our projects. We are learning about small businesses, and we are developing close relationships, which, I mean, there's some fuckery that happens. Am I allowed to say that word on your show?
Fuck no.
Okay,
yeah,
fuck
yeah,
no.
Yeah.
There's some fuckery that happens that maybe you don't want your kids around.
I understand.
It's what it is.
Confession time. I've never done karaoke before, so I'm sure. Yeah, I know. Whether I can get Becky to do it or not, that'll be a whole nother story. But maybe
it's too bad Kimmy Leos isn't coming, because she would get Becky to do it.
She's not coming.
Leos is coming.
Okay.
Kimmy Leos has to work. Yeah.
Okay, it happens. I understand. At least I'll be able to give Mike a big hug, so that'll be good. So
yeah.
Are people huggers down there or not?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the people. Here's the deal: don't hug rape anybody.
Right.
You're fine. Hug rape is not allowed at my workshop. Hugs are allowed. No hug rape.
Yeah. I get that. Oh, yeah. Some people, you don't ever want to make somebody uncomfortable.
It's like that side hugger.
Yeah.
You just don't touch them.
Yeah. I get it. So, the whole community. I mean, to me, I guess if you've built a community and you're growing that community, and if you break even financially, I think that's a huge success for the first few years anyway. And I know in your LFTN kind of behind the scenes, the membership and stuff, you've done, what do you call them, incubators? Or is it incubators or is it
Accelerators.
accelerators? That's the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those have sprung out of conversations at these.
Yeah, so we do accelerators. We're not doing them this year, I don't think, unless they get added at the last minute. But where somebody presents an idea and then the whole group gives input on the idea.
Yep.
The one I'm most excited about right now, and I'm excited about different ones. So Carrie, who's on the chat, has talked about his permaculture business as an accelerator. I hope that got him somewhere. There was a guy who I had talked to on and off for a year, who had not started his thing, but talked about his thing, who did his accelerator, and he left in 2020, and we haven't seen him since.
Oh.
The reason we haven't seen him since is that he went out and started his thing, and he put a lot of work in, made horrible mistakes, learned a lot, and has jiggered it to be a financially successful endeavor for himself. So
I love
he'll be back at some point, and I get it, because sometimes you just can't leave. But yeah,
but if he doesn't, so like that, I love that. That to me is like when people like the other night, I had a guy. He's like Chris Dixon. He's a local Alberta guy. He's like, sorry, Tim, I had to jump out on your live stream, but I went out and made $200 for an hour's worth of work. I said, I don't give a shit. Go out. If you go, I don't, real life's real life. Go and make money.
Yeah.
Anytime you're kicking ass and taking names financially, growing something, it just I get goosebumps. It makes me so excited, Yeah.
Hey, I want to know who this fake Nicole is, Jason.
What was it?
I feel like I'm seeing the real Nicole.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm always the real Nicole.
She's always the real Nicole. I just, I don't know.
Yeah. There will be explanation later, right, Jason? You'll explain to me why I'm the fake Nicole other times. Yeah.
Well, that's why my email address is the real Tim Cook, not that fake bullshit guy that runs Apple,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awful.
You're getting the crooked bun, Nicole. I did. Okay, so we processed 4 500-pound pigs this weekend. 4. Do you know whose idea that was?
Was it yours?
My idea. Am I an idiot? I'm an idiot. But 4 pigs are processed.
But you're successful, right?
I am tired as fuck.
Yeah.
I am right now.
We just spent 2 full days stripping a basement. I figured it would take me a day. And we got another half a day of hauling drywall down yet. So shit happens. We bite off more than we can chew, but I guess doers are better than don'ters. Is that
right? I mean, I have more to do on the pigs, but everything's in the fridge or freezer. It's all in bags. It's all tagged. Some of the notes by the last pig that were written by other people trolling me are cryptic, but I'll figure out what the part is. It's fine.
Yeah. And worst comes to worst, it's all meat, as long as they didn't.
It's pork. It's good.
You're all set. I mean,
I just didn't know they were. I think I have like 800 pounds of pork right now.
Oh, I am jealous. That is.
Do you want some? Because can you fly home with it? They probably won't let you take it into Canada.
I don't know. I can in Canada. I brought 40 pounds worth of fish back from Nova Scotia, but
find out, because I went to meet jail in Canada once because I had a sausage.
Oh.
I flew to
make jokes there, but I won't. I promise.
Alberta, I flew to Alberta,
and
I had a Trader's Joe sausage in the package, and they get to the agricultural thing, and they're like, "Do you have any meat, ma'am?" And I'm like, "I have a sausage." And then they took me in this other room with the Amish people who were having their shoes cleaned because they'd been on farms and needed to not the
track and
that whole thing, and I showed him my sausage, which sounds dirty, but it's not.
Sorry.
And they looked at my sausage and they said, "You can bring that sausage into Canada. Don't try to bring that back to the US, ma'am."
Oh my!
So I had my sausage, and it was a pepperoni. I ate it while I was in Canada. I forgot it was in my suitcase. It was a whole thing.
Good. Did it have a funny odor? Just saying.
Yeah, we won't go there.
Sorry, I'll leave it. I got stopped at the border one time. We were moving back from Saskatchewan to Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
We had everything that meant anything to us in the back of the van, and the border agent was being a bit of a dick, and he opened up the trunk of the van, and my
Yeah.
grandfather's hatchet fell out. And I went to pick it up, and he put his hand on the gun. He's like, "Step back, sir, you're in trouble." I was like, "Oh my God." I really wasn't going to try to murder him with a hatchet. So it happens, right? Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. And Carrie, I got to shout out Carrie. He is kicking ass and taking names. He is absolutely trying to, he is building something great. So yeah. Let's talk about this a little bit. You do what, 3 or 4, what do you call them? Programs or live streams or shit. I can't think of the word for it, where people do a special course. They teach a course on. Yeah. Oh, like Josh, PA Prepper did one for you. You did.
My webinars.
Yes, I don't know what's been wrong with me this weekend. My brain, I am so sorry. I had to make a
fish face. I still didn't know what you were talking about.
I was like, she's going to leave me high and dry. What? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So I do a monthly webinar as part of my member benefits, and he did a webinar this month for just evaluating your property for microclimates. It was great. He just talked about how to observe your property to find places that are warmer or colder or drier or less dry or windy or not windy or sunny or shady, to figure out where things should grow on your property or what to do to abate problems that are coming up. And that was about a week ago. But the background there is, if you listen to my podcast, which some of you do and some of you don't, because I can see people who do in the show notes.
There's a bunch here. Oh yeah.
Hi Ken. Hi Carrie. Hi
Justin. 30-day reviews.
Justin. Yeah. Hi, Amy's on. And
yes. Oh yes. Hi Amy.
So I had this hillside garden.
Okay.
Thing. And it was like a retaining wall that you had to climb up to get up there. And then while the contractor is doing it, he's like, "Hey, Nicole, I have this really cool artistic idea. I'll do these diagonal beds. It'll look great, and they'll step up. And you can just put some weed cloth down, put stuff in there, put a watering system in. It'll be awesome." You know what I had? I had a retaining wall I had to climb to get up to the fucking beds.
Poor Nicole.
That I never climbed, or you had to go around the whole house to come down.
Yep.
And I had little beds that you could not bring a lawnmower into or anything else. And I ended up with Tennessee weeds that were taller than I was in year 1. And then if you listen to my podcast, you've heard me talk about how I'm taking control of the hillside garden. And then later in the year, I'm like, fuck it.
Yep. Halfway through, you let it be.
I'm screwed again. So Carrie and Tactical reshaped the entire side of my hill.
That's awesome.
They pushed it back. They reshaped it. They made it so that there was access for heavy equipment if I ever need heavy equipment. There's a plan for, and then Nick Ferguson came out, another permaculturist, and he said, if you put the aquaponics here and the access there, then you can still access the aquaponics. The aquaponics with weed cloth keeps the weeds from coming out. And there's this whole thing being built there. So Kerry he's been here for days on this. He's coming back next week.
And he's self-taught too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I really wish I could get him to help me. I mean, I guess I could, but I've got this little postage stamp land, lawn. We homesteaded for years, but we decided to move into town, and I'm sure I still could. I'll pick his brain a bit, but we chat about the handyman stuff too.
Well, if you want, I'll give you access to that webinar, because he talks about his city lot and how they figured that out in that webinar as an example, because with big land, it's easier to screw up.
Right.
With small land, you still have microclimates. You have the near the sidewalk thing and the north side of the house and the west side of the house. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Because my north is, I don't think anything, it stays frozen. I wanted to put in a rain catchment, so I started looking into it the other day. If I want it to stay thawed year round here in Alberta, the top cannot exceed 10 feet below ground. It has to be at least 10 feet below ground so the frost won't reach it. It's unreal. Yeah. We have a 3.5 meter frost line here. So yeah, crazy. So what about SOE Tactical and your SelfReliance Festival? How about the collaborations you guys are doing there, because I love hearing about that.
That has been a fun relationship. John Willis reached out to me in 2020, and he and I chatted a little bit on and off and never really met in person. And he heard a podcast I did after our spring workshop, which had been delayed, I don't know, a month or two because of COVID.
Yep.
Because we had March shutdowns. Hotels were telling my people, we're going to cancel your hotel for the April workshop. Because at first I was like, fuck it, we're doing the workshop.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I said, nope, we're doing it in June. And we moved it to June, and we did this, and some people couldn't come. And so I gave them the choice, refund your ticket or you can come to 2021, whatever, because this was, it was just crazy time at that point. So we did our June workshop. It was great. That was one of the best workshops we ever had, but it was also one of the quietest, least party animal-ish ones ever.
Really?
Everybody was quiet, but they were having deep conversations, and they developed really good relationships. Yeah, Ken's making fun of mine.
Yeah, I know. I had to bring that up.
We have rocks. And at the end of it, Jenny came over. She said, I think everybody turned a corner at your event from, holy fuck, the whole world shut down. Society is melting down as we know it. Government overreach, like all of these things that cause us stress. Like, I know you're in Canada. You got it way worse than I did.
Whatever. It's all relative.
And I was like, yeah. And I did this podcast about grow, which was my word of, it's actually the t-shirt I'm wearing right now.
Love it.
It was my word of the year. And I said, you know what? Fuck COVID. Like, if I'm going to grow, I got to do it right now. And I'm going to do it. This is my choice. And John Willis heard that podcast, reached out to me and said, hey, you want to do a custom coffee for SOE Tactical? And I was like, well, fuck yeah, I do. And I said, well, hey, I'll just roast some and bring them out for you to taste. So, because I sensed that what was important was the personal relationship there. I went out, met him in person, and this is the lesson. I met him in person, even though it was a 2.5-hour drive.
Yes.
Which was not in my schedule.
I
went out anyway, and I was going to bring out coffee cones and taste the coffee for him. And I went to Walmart and COVID. Right. Were there any coffee cones for sale? No.
Probably not. No paper products, period.
So I brought canning funnels and whatever I could that would hold a coffee filter to do this tasting. And I'm like, sorry, dude, like, here's your tasting. I couldn't get coffee cones except for the one I have. And here are all my funnels with filters in them. Just choose a coffee. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
And he did. And we did our first run of coffee. And we started establishing sort of some trust with that. Like, I hire you, you pay me, I deliver, everything went well. It still tasted as good as the tasting versus what the people got, like all of that stuff. And I started getting to know John and Amanda, and Amanda a little bit more than John, his wife.
Okay.
Really, I connect with her. I love her no nonsense, no bullshit approach to life. And like over the last couple of years, not only have we done coffee, he helped me with my Kickstarter, because right after I did his order, my roaster caught on fire.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. Man.
And I was like, I can fix my roaster, which I have. But I need a new roaster. The real issue is that I'm overworking this roaster. And so he helped me by donating a bunch of SOE gear with Hollow Roast logo on it for me to give away as perks and other stuff. And we did that. And like, you finally got your coffee 2 years later.
1 year, don't worry. And it was whatever Canada takes for. Ask Amy how long it took her newsletter to show up to Canada. So don't feel bad. Yeah.
So that all went out. And then he was like, hey, Nicole, I want to do an event here. And he's come to a couple things at my place to see. Like, he was at the turkey processing workshop and some other things. I want to do an event here. And I said, great. I'm really busy. I'll talk to you in a minute.
I know. Yes.
And I thought about it, and I went out and talked to him in person. I said, I'm thinking something around self-reliance where we have a makers gathering where people, if you know how to make shoelaces, you show people how to make shoelaces, and we just see what our networks will bring.
That's
And we
awesome.
did the first Self-Reliance Festival in October. Great success. Completely network driven.
Yep.
Second one was in February, which is about the worst time of year to do any kind of an event in Tennessee that's outdoors.
Sure.
People came and camped. It went really well. Our next one is June 11th and 12th, SelfRelianceFestival.com if you're interested. Right now, tickets are $35. On April 1st, that's going to double.
Yes, sir.
So if you're going to go, get your ticket now. It's non-refundable, but it is transferable. You can camp on site. We've got great speakers. We've got Jack Spirko.
Nice.
I'm speaking about underground networking and some other things. We've got, who else do we have? I don't even know. We got Ken Berry. Ken Berry. Yeah, he's going to be there. John Willis will speak. We've got a bunch of great speakers, but we've also got people doing demos. So we have a blacksmith who shows you how to do blacksmithing. We have beer brewing. I think we will probably have to make fuel.
Yes.
Oh, fuel.
Yes, I've done that.
3D printing. Oh,
nice.
Yeah. So just a whole bunch of different things. We had how to process a rabbit last time. And I have Billy Bond coming from Permapastures Farm, which he's awesome. He teaches how to break down a pig really well. We're doing the day before Self-Reliance Festival, a standalone workshop that's just processing a pig. That's an extra fee.
Nice.
All of that is at SelfRelianceFestival.com if you're interested in going.
Is that was he on your show a few months ago, Billy? And he called himself like the Pimp Daddy or something like that. Was that he was? I loved his interview. Oh, and
He's
I haven't.
Great.
Yeah, you guys did an afternoon one this week, right? I haven't caught it yet, but
yeah, we did. So I'm doing these Tuesday lives with John Willis every Tuesday at 12:30. Amy Dingman's on Tuesday from A Farmer's Kind of Life.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we do those every Tuesday. Jack, John, and I go on the first Tuesday of the month, and then Billy is going to go, I think, the third Tuesday of the month as a regular thing.
Nice. Yeah.
And we just had Billy on last week to see how the dynamic was.
Yes, that's live streaming's a whole nother. Yeah, it's cool. It's addictive. It's absolutely addictive and effective, but there are the occasional dynamic that doesn't always work, right? And you don't know it until you try. Sometimes it seems.
Yeah. I see Mia Vicanti says workshops for kids are a different niche. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We have something called the Back to the Land Festival here.
Okay.
Done by Matt and Gabby. And I'm trying to remember the name. It's I can't remember the name of their project, but they did it last year and they had a whole kids program.
Nice.
And that's another one it's another one in Tennessee you can go to, and they have a kids program, which is I think pretty cool.
Well, that's a whole nother niche, right? I mean,
yeah.
If that's either your shtick or it isn't. And if it is, go for it. And if it isn't, So the self-reliance, I mean, obviously you sprung out, your relationship with John, which was awesome. What else have you seen from that so far? Because I think my idea for getting you on to talk about this came from the after self-reliance episode you did with Mama Sauce and was it Tactical was the other one that was on there, or was it Nighthawk? I couldn't remember who.
It was probably Tactical.
Yeah. Anyway, so it was cool, but what else has kind of sprung out from those?
I mean, the biggest thing that comes out of Self-Reliance Festival is that we have networks. I have a network. You have a network. John has a network. Jack Spirko has a network. And when we bring all those networks together, the connections that happen at those things are like connections on crack.
Right. That's what I'm excited for.
And the reason that Self-Reliance Festival is something I'm putting so much time into is I think that these direct relationships that we have right now, internationally, nationally, across state borders, across city boundaries, across county boundaries, are what are going to sustain us through whatever happens next.
100%.
And it doesn't matter if it's something bad and totalitarian overreach, blah, 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 or something good. We have walked away in the last 20 years from real relationships, real connections, and networks. And it's time to put that back together. And part of how you do that is to join a network like your network, like my network, like Jack's network, like John's network. But those networks need to cross-pollinate.
Yes.
Or we don't get from place to place to place. I'm still involved in the Libertarian Policy Network. I'm not as involved as I was, but through all of the crap of the last 2 years, from time to time, one of my policy people has popped up and either asked for my help or offered me their help. And that's because we had real relationships. And that is why we do these events. That is the crux of it. Without holler neighbors, because I have 4 families that we all live near each other, right? There's no way that 4 500-pound pigs would have been processed in the last day and a half, which is what happened here. And we had all neighbors involved. We had one podcast listener come randomly and help. Thank you, Eric. And Otto Fab from Cider Hollow Farms, who I know knows how to process the crap out of a pig, and he can cut up pigs fast. He came out. And without that conglomeration of people, we would have never gotten it done, right? Because that's, I mean, maybe if you're hearing this, you don't know how much work that is. Like the first pig I did with another person, one pig, similar weight, we got it processed into halves, packed into a cooler and driven back to his restaurant where it went into a walk-in fridge. And then on day 2, we cut it up.
Right. Yes, I've been there.
That's 2 people, 1 pig. We had 5 people, 4 pigs, and we had them all processed, skinned, halved. 2 of those halves butchered, like cut up into pieces, and the other 2 on ice, and then did the last 2 pigs with 3 of us this morning, and we're done by noon.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to sleep so well tonight, Tim.
Oh, listen, I dig it. Yeah, I get it. That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So what about like, okay, I'm sure you get this sometimes too, but everybody's like, oh, it must be nice, or things, it's good for Nicole because you have 4 people there within a stone's throw of one another that'll help you. But I have nobody, and I don't know how to reach out to anybody, and I blah, blah, whatever, insert excuse here, right? What do you say to somebody who at least legitimately wants to reach out to someone or community?
If you're telling yourself the story that you have nobody you can reach out to, that's bullshit.
Right.
It's complete bullshit. There is somebody you can reach out to, and you may feel alone wherever you live. I lived in Portland, fucking Oregon as a libertarian for years.
How'd that go?
Great.
Yeah.
Actually. The neighborhood I lived in was inner city, not one of the safest neighborhoods, although now it's one of the most popular. And the neighbors I had there were some of the greatest people. And politically, we did not agree. It didn't matter. What mattered was that we had core fundamental values. And the values we had nothing to do with God, although if God is there and can help you with that, that's great. But we believed you should help your neighbor. We believed that violent crime was a bad thing. We believed that to help with violent crime, if you kept your neighborhood kind of tidy and you kept out on the street talking to each other, you would have a better presence, and it would like push that off. And because of that, we had a safer little street than 3 streets over. So and that was just, we believed humans were basically good, and that if we came out and were good around each other, that the bad would not want to hang out.
So what you're saying is you actually focused on the similarities between your neighbors. As I thought other people only had differences. I guess I was wrong about that.
So we all have differences.
So So different people can actually have similarities with me then. That's good to
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I know sarcasm, right? But they,
Sarcasm emoji.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So that, and how hard is that? Or at least if not hard, how is that not, that seems to be the complete opposite of what we live around right now.
It isn't though.
No, but doesn't it seem to be the, like everybody is tribalized or compartmentalized, you know, or at least that seems to be the general consensus. And it, maybe that's a struggle on my part too, because for a long time I always focused, I always, I think I always wanted to find that perfect anarcho capitalist, whatever, you know what I mean? And then I think maybe it was between you and Amy, you give me a verbal kick to the ass, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it's way better just to focus on what you have in common as opposed to what's different, right?
Yeah. If you get two anarchists in a room and get them talking about their opinions on things, they will disagree vehemently.
100%. Yes. Just like liberty.
And that means that if you focus on the differences, you don't find the similarities. Our whole media narrative, our whole cultural entertainment narrative focuses on the differences instead of common ground. And they give like lip service to the common ground. But if you look at what we talk about, it's all differences. And we've been taught and trained that the differences actually matter and they don't. And I
Yeah.
think about it this way, like I'm not, so we're going to go into God here.
I knew you were going there because that's on my brain right now too. So you can go ahead and preach. And
Okay, so
I think I agree 100% with you here. So you go right ahead.
I am not any
I,
religion.
yep, I
Okay?
understand.
I'm nothing. I believe there is a higher power. But I'm not, I grew up Catholic, I was Presbyterian, I went through all of these different things, right? But didn't ever gel with it.
100%. Yep, I get it.
And I have a lot of friends who are deeply religious,
Yes.
Christian, wonderful people who love me for who I am.
It's pretty cool.
And I love them for who they are. And none of that matters. And if I want to talk to them about their idea of God or the Bible or any of those things, I can ask questions, and it's never, I'm trying to convince you of this. It's more, I'm going to meet you where you are and love you as you are, whether or not I think your decisions are right. And when I see that behavior, I think if we could just do that with most people, if more people could do that with more people, we would be less arguey about, what name to call whatever. I don't even
Yeah.
know. Like it's I
Whatever
can't
the
even
nice
keep up with the PC thing
oh,
at this point.
it must be tiresome. Yes.
I don't. I gave up.
I think if anything, if nothing else, I think this whole mindset we're talking about right now might have been the greatest thing that's come
Yeah.
out of the last 2 years in our surrounding communities. It seems like everybody is more willing to collaborate, more willing to support,
Yeah.
and more willing. I think people realize that you're way better off by focusing on the similarities and just forget about the stupid petty differences that you probably won't change somebody's mind on anyway. So don't worry about it.
Well, that, and if you have a deep religious or philosophical calling and you live your life in adherence with that, it will invite other people in.
Yes.
If you try to push that on other people, it will push people out. And that's where all of the narrative, when I watch the narrative, when I, it's like I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like face palm
Oh, yeah.
all the time, because I see this narrative that they're trying to push down people's throats, and it's the only way it's working is through bullying.
Yes. Fear
And
tactic.
that means nobody believes it who's being bullied into it.
Right.
Except for the people who really believe it, and they're being turned into weapons. They're like weaponizing people.
But
We don't need to, don't let yourself be weaponized.
What do you say? I mean, I know we could go down a whole rabbit hole, but I mean, you get called racist by white people more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
And that's where that mindset comes from.
That was my experience in Portland.
Yep.
I joined my neighborhood association to help make it safer. And a bunch of white people came to the meetings and told me why I was racist and why not wanting crime was racist. And I was like, you're speaking on behalf of whom exactly? Oh, the black people in the neighborhood who are afraid to come to this meeting. And I was like, which addresses? Because I'll go talk to them.
Oh, no.
And I did.
I'm proud of you. That's all.
And I did. And that wasn't the case at all. What I started hearing from the long established families in that neighborhood who were people of color was that they were really excited by some of them were not excited by the changes because what was happening is it was gentrifying, right? Mm-hmm. Some were really excited by the changes that were happening and the diversity that was coming into the neighborhood. Others were frustrated because prices were going up and it was pushing people out. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that and not have white people come who are speaking on your behalf who haven't really lived here before. And I mean, I was a foreigner to that neighborhood when I moved in. Really, I was fairly new. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can make this a neighborhood. Because the reason that neighborhood worked was the people in that neighborhood made that neighborhood work. When the schools failed the kids, somebody from the neighborhood basically strong-armed the city into giving up part of a city park, built a school to teach the kids how to read and write and do arithmetic because the fucking public schools couldn't do that.
Isn't that something?
And they gave them somewhere to go after school instead of into the gangs or onto the street so that they could work on those skills. That's what worked. And that was all voluntary.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect. That is just, yeah. I was going to back up a hair here because I got a shout out to Chris Dixon. I said he's my guy from Alberta, right? And there's a story behind this quote, but he's the first person I have met IRL in real life from any of our communities, or AFK, as my kids say, away from keyboard, But yeah, he literally had to make a trip up here, which is not a short trip. It was 4.5 hours each way to deliver a car. And he messaged me weeks before and he's like, hey, you want to meet for coffee? And he come out to my workshop and a 15-minute coffee turned into I think it was about 3 hours, and we froze our asses off because my furnace wasn't working real great out there. And it was one of the most refreshing conversations. So, take the time, invest, reach out. Yeah, it's awesome. And I'm excited to get to come down and actually meet all you guys in real life too,
Yeah.
Oh, somebody just said, I can't believe we dropped the F-bomb.
Yeah. Okay, let's stick on this one for a minute. You know how I told you he can cut up 3 to my 1 on a page? Yes. That's the guy.
Yeah, that's why. Hey, AutoFab, how are you? This is great. And he can't believe, I'm not sure if he meant you or me. I'm guessing he meant you, I'm sure, because
it's related to another story where somebody got really mad at me because I had Jack Spirko and John Willis on my show and they said fuck a lot.
Yes.
And I got oh my God, there was fuck on your podcast and I can't, you've lost a listener. And I just thought, you've not listened to enough of my podcasts apparently about what's your business and what if you want me to give a disclaimer before I'm going to have an F-bomb filled podcast, because I usually don't, I'm cool with that request. But the hair flip fucking hissy fit on my website, not cool with that.
Amy Digman had one of those recently too, where somebody found out her hubby was law enforcement and said, I can't believe, I'm like, what the fuck do you want her to do? Divorce her husband? Whatever.
Oh, so, I know. Yeah.
Good riddance.
Yeah. But I guess you're not listening anymore because I'm going to stay married to the person I've been married to for a really long time and raised 2 kids with.
The nerve. I can't imagine she would do that,
Yeah.
What fucking, anyway, yeah. For the most part, I kind of keep the show PG-13, but we still swear some and whatever, our after party one we've been doing lately, that one is about a hard R as you're going to get. And that's okay. We have fun with it. And
it is what it is.
I even tag it with a little E when it goes out to the podcast because
I try not to swear too much on my podcast because I know people have kids listening in the background. And sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to play the audio for this on my podcast, I hope to.
Yes.
I'm going to have to say, we're going to say some fucks.
Yeah, there's
Say,
one or
yeah.
two F-bombs in there. And if you know me, and I'm sure you in real life, that's just, it's punctual. It's there, you fucking swear sometimes, but
sometimes you do.
So how, what other events? I guess the next big one for you is this year's. So, okay, you said you had the first 3 spring workshops broke even, lost money without getting, yeah. How many, what year is this one?
5.
How many? 5. Okay. So last year was considered a bit of a success.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And this year looking good too.
I built Taj Mahal, but yeah, this one will be awesome. I will not make money on this one because it's all in that structure out there, but that's part of the plan. Yeah.
But you're investing in infrastructure too.
Yeah,
right?
that's it. It was just, I thought if I'm going to accommodate this many people on my property, and last year it rained. So we had winter on day 1, and then we had spring, and then we had holy fuck, it's raining. And then we had spring again. And that whole thing made me think, if shelter were a little bit nicer here for an outdoor event, because it's mostly outdoors.
Yep.
It's more comfortable for the participants. Now, our classes are in Jenny's basement, so that's sheltered. But we're eating and partying out here. And when it rained, it was fine because I have an event tent.
Okay.
But there was the wall of rain walking out of the event tent, and I just thought, we'll just put a big roof up, and I'm pretty excited about that. And over time, what'll happen is I'll work on, projectors and AV down here, because eventually we won't have Jenny's basement. Eventually, she's going to want her basement back.
Well, sure, it's a legitimate, desire. I get it. Yeah. I'm a big fan of investing in things that, give you a return year after year. Spend it once and, you don't have to build it again. So that's good. I'm looking forward to it. And if Ken built it, I'm sure it'll last.
Well, that's the thing. If I had never met Ken, there would not be a Taj Mahal.
That's crazy.
Because I would have said, I want this thing and I don't know who can build it. And I know who can't build it. But I have Ken and I know he can build it, and I knew he'd build it well. So.
And it's built.
It's built. Poor guy.
It
was a slog. It was a slog.
He told us a few times behind the scenes on the fireside chat and stuff, the different things he was working on. I'm like, yeah, he's doing it. And I remember one day, was it fucking raining or snow? I can't remember what it was. It was whatever day.
Rain, snow, ice. I don't know. Yeah. It all happened during the project.
Did you run into any rocks when he was digging? I can't imagine down there.
Yeah, they were so. He knows where my bedrock is. If you want to know where my bedrock is, you just talk to Ken.
I'm sure. Did people show up in there? I'm sure there's some people that just can't sit around and have to do something while they're there. Is that the idea? Because it's hard for me to sit around for any length of time without trying to, I don't know, clean something, fix something. Like, you know. I was at the vet's office today and they forgot to turn the clock back or turn the clock ahead. And so I'm like, I'm up on the wall. Becky's like, could you just, I said, I have to. So I haul it down and adjust. So that's the old man in me, but
yeah.
Let's holler out to the audience here too. If anybody has any questions for Nicole, anything in particular, throw them out here now. Put them in all caps if you can, but I'm sure I'll catch them either way. But
yeah, so we're doing a big old GSD weekend. So let's get shit done.
Yeah, talk about that a little.
So this is awesome. So after my first workshop where we all learned how to make aquaponics, the Tennessee Get Shit Done group was established, and we started going to different people's homesteads, putting in aquaponics systems. And then it kind of morphed into whatever systems. So Sean Mills built a solar array and had people come help with that. He actually did an event about that. We did aquaponics system. We've built composting outhouses, all this other stuff. And always before the spring workshop here, we have GSD weekends to get ready for the spring workshop. Right now, what I have at my place is piles of construction, like crap from all of it. Because it's not just Taj Mahal, or we actually reshaped the entire hillside. And so we're having a Get Shit Done weekend where anybody can come out. I'll feed them and You can camp on site and all of that. And we have projects to do, from hanging lights under Taj Mahal for the spring workshop to there's a lot of crap in my yard that needs to go to the dumpster.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, trees were knocked down this year in the ice. We're going to cut up trees. Like anything we can do, we'll get as much done as people who are here. And those are really fun. I don't know what the next one will be after mine, but I'm only doing one for the spring workshop this year. I used to do several, but now I'm like, one's good.
Chris Dixon says, I want to host a Get Shit Done in our neighborhood. We have a lot of seniors here, and if they need shit done, we come do it. Work in progress.
Yeah, that
I
totally.
love that.
I have a friend who was in a terrible motorcycle accident, and he didn't have a Get Shit Done weekend, but in order to come home, he needed a ramp installed, a door to his bathroom widened, and from our network, enough people showed up at his wife's house to get that, or at his house to get that done. By the time he came out, he was in the hospital for about a month, and then he came home and there was a ramp and a new bathroom door that was wider and all this, and a ramp from the front. It wasn't just our LFTN network, his network. He drives Jeeps, so his Jeep network helped. Yeah. It was really cool to watch that go down. But
so you mean, I know, I'm not to go. It's just cool. I like that, because that at the base of it, individuals helping individuals is what it's all about. And I love that, because, you know, I guess some people point and say, oh, government could come and do that. Well, it'd probably take them a year, 3 years or whatever, and cost, you know, like what was it? The stairs in Toronto. Did you ever see that story?
Oh yeah. The ones that were taken out again?
Yeah. Because the guy built them for like $150 out of his own pocket. And the government, it took them like a year, and it was going to be like $30,000.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, so I love it.
And then they weren't up to code, and he's like, "But I'm not breaking my ass walking down this hill."
And so they tear them out anyway. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I love it. I think that's great. I gotta do something more like that in this area over time, because I have an elderly lady who lives next door to me. I moved in here almost 3 years ago, and we've yet to have a conversation. So it's time to have a conversation. I go and do her sidewalk sometimes, but she doesn't know. I don't care. It's just, I want to reach out, and it's kind of weird. Hey, you have to sometimes just be the person to reach out and do it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is great. You know?
Yeah. We got people coming from Indiana this year.
Really?
Yeah.
That's for a GSD?
For a GSD. So,
oh, Jesus.
I'm like, hey, let's do a GSD. And this other person from Indiana is like, hey, I'll come down.
How far is that in my limited geography?
5-6 hours. Not too bad.
Okay. That's not bad. I'd love to come down for SelfReliance Festival at some point, but I don't know.
If you can, let me know in advance, and you'll be on the speaker agenda. I'm going to North Carolina in September to Prepper Camp, which is a pretty cool event, I guess. Have you heard of it, or do you know of it? I never had before, but I guess it's the largest. Is it late September?
September 15th or something.
So because the October SelfReliance is the first weekend of October.
Oh yeah. I'd never be able to do it. Becky would kill me. I'm going by myself, because she's going to Vegas in the 1st of September by herself with her sister. Whatever. Yeah. We'll make it work. I'll get down next year for it. And Becky would love that. So, and Amy says SelfReliance Festival would be amazing to attend as well.
We'd love to see Amy there.
Oh yes. Yeah. We'll all make it down.
We're going to see Amy at the LFTN workshop though. So that's going to be pretty dang cool.
Really what we need to do is just kind of do our own, what do you call it? Upper Midwest events here. So we can, at least it's less than a day's fucking drive to get there. You know?
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind. It would be all right, but it's just a long old haul to get down there, you know? Yeah.
Where are you flying into for mine? Nashville?
Yeah. And I'm going to fly into Atlanta to go to, because it's the closest. It's like 3 hours to North Carolina from whatever it is, 3.5 hours. But I can get a direct flight from Calgary. From Calgary to Atlanta, round trip was less than $400.
Nice.
So yeah, it was. Yeah, you couldn't even think about driving for that, you know. Not that I would, because just can't take the time to do it. So
right.
So what else do you have on the go, Nicole?
Everything.
Yes. How do you balance it all?
I don't.
Yeah, I know. Neither do I. But everybody thinks we do.
So this weekend was hilarious.
Yes. How did that?
I just want to talk about this weekend. So
I'd
I'm
love
like,
for you to go for it.
you know what I want to do this weekend? I want to process 4 500-pound pigs. And I would like to have my neighbor over for wine and cheese at 3 p.m. on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah, when one serves wine and cheese, usually your house is also not a pig processing disaster. I'm just going to put that out there. And then I want a live stream with Tim at 8 p.m. Yeah. I thought that would all be a pretty nice little tidy weekend.
How'd that go?
I'm on the live stream and I'm not dead.
Yes.
Wine and cheese happened and we had a really good time. And the cool thing is it was a neighbor who has a tractor. So yesterday I texted him at noon and I was like, so I don't know if it's kind of last minute, but if you're able to come down here with your tractor and help us move some pigs around, that'd be awesome. Because we moved 2 with tarps and 4 people.
Oh, geez.
And the other 2 he moved with the tractor. And he did. He totally, like, he was planting plum trees, came down with his tractor and picked up the other 2 like with the front loader and picked them up. Because I just did not realize how much those pigs weighed.
Dead
like,
weight.
I thought I was processing 150, 200-pound pigs. And this is just a lesson. Nicole has no concept of how much a pig weighs based on visual assessment.
How much did it weigh?
500 pounds per pig.
Wow. I remember years ago when we did pigs, I found this thing where you could measure, I think it was like ear to butt and then around their stomach or whatever. And I still don't think we were anywhere.
The pig has to stand still long enough for you to measure all that shit.
Yes. And manage to stay in the
That never happened at my house.
What did you feed them? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I mean, so it the balance doesn't happen unless I make it happen. And that's the lesson. Like so I'm working on a book called My 3 Things.
Yes.
And it's about managing your time and it's about setting, basically the core concept is set your priority, do up to 3 things a day. Don't do more 3 things a day that are do or die to move your life forward in the context of a big picture goal. If you do that, and if you only do 1 thing, that's okay. You can have a 1-3 thing, but you cannot have 4-3 things.
Yes.
The number shall not exceed 3. And that is just because I have a tendency to overcommit.
I understand.
And it's a control mechanism. And still, even with 3 things, sometimes I get 2 of my 3 things done and I'm sad. But that's all because if you want to move forward, you need to do it in the context of big picture. And when you have a homestead and a business and all of these things that we do, and you're taking control of your own life, there's a lot to do. And if you do less, then you don't get stuff done, and that's not good. But if you do too much and don't make time for your family, for your relationships, for your animals, for your own well-being, that's also not okay. So you need to find that, whatever that balance for you is. And I think a good way to do that, like I even budget time in to talk to friends. I'll be like, okay, 2 p.m. Like I'm sitting here. So I have I'm going to pull this up. It's stuck on my clipboard. This is like my weekly planner thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll literally write somebody down in the middle of my weekly planner or it doesn't get done, even though I love them.
There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Mom, you made the schedule.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you ever get so, okay, how do I want to word this? Like, I think we're both fairly productive individuals, and you kind of set a goal and you figure out, okay, these are the things I want to do. And then you kind of get in that zone and you're getting all that shit done and you're being very productive. But since you've got up to that level, do you ever feel like you should be doing more? Do you ever get, maybe you're over that at this point, but I get to a point where I'm like, I'm getting lots of shit done. I'm flowing, I'm doing good. And so it almost feels easy, even though my time's full at this point. And I'm like, you almost start feeling not guilty, but kicking yourself like, what more can I do? But at some point, how does a person decide I'm doing enough?
I think I'm always in that mode. Like, the guilty feeling of
yes,
taking time off, going for a kayak,
yep,
reading a book, I like reading novels. I basically consume 1 or 2 novels. Totally get what you're saying, Tim. Totally. Yep.
Yeah, I think we all do. We're in that. Yeah.
I like sitting around and watching the animals and observing the plants and all those things, and that requires you to stop doing all the time. So yes, sometimes I do battle with that, where I know I have more coffee orders to do, or I should do one more thing for my member portal or whatever it is. And what I really need to do is stop and watch a sunset. And what made me realize that was my uncle's partner. She always says it's sunset and she makes everybody stop. Well, maybe she doesn't always do this. She does when I visit. And we go out and we watch the sunset at the beach, wherever we are. And we we toast the sunset.
Yep. I love that.
And that little moment is the acknowledgement that the earth is moving, the sun is setting. We should acknowledge when it comes up, we should acknowledge when it comes down, whatever that is. Take the time to just stop and think about it. And I don't know that she does that every day, but she does, I used to visit them at the beach all the time. And I thought, I need to do that. I need to do something like that. It doesn't have to be sunset, right? It can be my morning coffee and my walk with my dogs.
Yes,
which is it's a thing I do, right? And it's been totally disrupted since January, and I'm a little discombobulated because of that. But those things are important. The dogs are going to be here for a limited number of years, and if I don't go for one walk, it's one less walk I went with my dogs while they were here, right?
I think about that all the time. Yep.
Yeah, exactly, Chris.
Yeah, he said my grandma used to tell us to exhale. Just sit there, now exhale. And then, man, I miss her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's true. I don't, it's hard. And how about the thing that went through my brain while you were talking about that was, how important is it to know how to say no as well in that? Like, do you ever, I know you talk about that a lot, and I know we weren't going to talk about this, but hey, whatever, okay. We're talking. Yeah. Because that seems to be important, and it's a hard concept to grasp for us.
It's really hard to say no, because the societal expectation is if you can say yes and go do the thing. Whatever that is. But it's not always best for you to say yes. And it's okay to say no. Or no, thank you. You can actually be nice about it. Just add the thank you at the end.
I like that.
I've really struggled with this because I like to help people. Yep. And as you build community, more and more requests come in.
Yes.
And you literally can't do them all.
No.
And so what happens is you end up in a place where you get no time for yourself, no regeneration. You start deteriorating because you're saying yes to everything. You end up panicked all the time. And that's not good for anybody in your community if you want to be a good community member. So learning to say no and to get comfortable with no is hard, but worth it. And learning to be comfortable with not getting enough done, Sugar Creek,
yes,
is important, because at some point you just need to stop. Like today, after my neighbor visited and they showed up, and I said, because outside not everything's totally cleaned up, but it's pretty cleaned up. I was like, no, we're still kind of, what was happening here. They're like, we're surprised you had us over. I'm like, yeah, I'm surprised too. But we got done, we had a really good time with them, got done with that. Nighthawk was over. And you know what we did?
What's that?
We sat around for an hour and a half and shot the shit. That's all we did. You know, you saw him in here. He was just hanging out because we're like, we just processed all these pigs. All the meat is like chilled and safe and all good and packaged. And we're tired. And we're just going to sit and enjoy the fact that we can just sit.
I feel you. I get it. I do. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a way to decompress afterwards. And yeah, there's something special about sitting around and shooting the shit sometimes. on the East Coast where I grew up, that was a very common occurrence, probably to the detriment of productivity for sure. But
Yeah.
living out here, it is the opposite. There's not a lot of sitting around shooting the shit on the prairie. So this is an oil patch kind of community where go, 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 go. And
Yeah.
sometimes I got to be reminded. It's important, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, those are the times when the deeper conversations happen.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it was we're all exhausted and we've worked hard and we're happy and we can just share stories. Well, he was sitting here telling me I need to go home and go to bed because I got to get up really early for my actual job tomorrow after working all weekend. And he didn't leave.
I know. Sure.
He did not leave. And the reason he didn't leave is it was just nice to be able to relate as people instead of doing something. That said, I do things a lot. Like you may talk if you come visit me here, you may be visiting me while we're walking around and I'm doing stuff because I got to get things done.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. That's a thing that happens here.
I get it. My old neighbor where we lived years ago could not work and talk at the same time. And it was very difficult because I would always want to go out and work in the garden and chat while we worked in the garden, and his whole concept was, hey, let's stop and talk and then we'll work, except we never got any work done. So
no, you got to work in the garden while you talk.
Yes. And I'm very, very good at that, but some people suffer from it. It's just not always so good,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, so what else? Yeah, we've been an hour 15. Does anybody else have any questions for Nicole? Carrie Brown says he's not a very good sitter.
No, he's not.
No, like as in a babysitter, Carrie? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah.
He'd probably be a fine babysitter. He'd play with that kid the whole time, not sitting.
But I get it. I know when there's shit that needs to get done, you want to get up and do it. But I find that relaxing too. Like this afternoon, me and Charlotte, we baked bread this morning. I've been trying to teach her. We've been putting away a lot of dry goods, long-term dry goods. And I want to teach her. It's her great grandmother's bread recipe. And I want her to be able to do it. So that's been our Sunday thing for a while now. But then, this afternoon, I just went out and one of the best things I do is I go out and putt in my garage for 2 or 3 hours. I organize, and sometimes, that's fine. That's just what I do. And it's a way to decompress. And I'll usually have ear pods in and, I'll be listening to Living Free in Tennessee or Farmer's Kind of Life or an audiobook or whatever. It doesn't matter, and that's just, do you do much audiobook listening? I don't know if I've ever asked you that. I know you like good old fashioned paper books, don't you?
I read a lot of paper books. I am reading The Real Anthony Fauci right now. Reading, not listening.
Yeah.
But I listen to a lot of podcasts and I will listen to books because when you're working in the garden or something, you're not reading. And if there aren't other people working with you, it gets a little lonely.
Yep, it does.
And listening to something like a podcast or the radio or music makes you feel less lonely. That's why I started listening to podcasts. And you can learn a lot while you're doing it.
Through osmosis.
And I think that's something people don't give themselves permission to admit, is that part of that thing we do where we're listening while we're doing is I'm working alone. I feel lonely, but I'm listening and there's somebody there,
Yeah. And it keeps your brain going too, because some of us don't like to be lost in our own thoughts sometimes too.
Yeah, they're scary, those thoughts of ours.
Yeah. So what are the best? All right, let's ask you what are the best books you've read, fiction or nonfiction, in the last year or whatever? What's
year?
Because I know you love. Carrie Brown recommended to me an incredible series, World Made by Hand, and I busted. Now everything I consume is through audio because I download way better through audio. So anyway, when I say read, I mean listen. But
So on the fiction side, I really like the Hangman's Daughter series, which is originally written in German language.
Okay.
And then it's translated into English. The translation is good. And I am bilingual, by the way, so I do both German and English. And those series I've gone back and forth on. The other one is I think it's the Glassblower series, is really a good story.
Okay.
Those are the two. They're not very new books. Those are the two that have impressed me over the last few years. And I'm having trouble finding books that are well written now.
The problem is that
I've read some really bad fucking books in the last year.
It's tough. And do you get, okay, for years, I always, if I started a movie or I started a book, I felt obligated to finish it. Life's too short for that shit. I throw it,
Yeah, gone.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. It took me a long time to learn that, but I do.
And I'm trying to think, is it the Dresden? I just started reading a series about this wizard guy. Is it Dresden?
I know what you mean. I've seen it. I haven't.
I'm going to Google it.
Sure.
I'm going to Google it on DuckDuckGo, though. Hold on.
Letty Lou, I recommended the Going Home series. It's like, after an EMP type thing. And it was the best audio series I've listened to in quite a while. And I'm working through it a second time now. I love it. And Letty, she said she's really enjoyed it too. So it's always nice when you can share something you like, or, books or whatever. And I like nonfiction too, but I kind of work my way down and decompress a little bit by listening to fiction sometimes.
So the Dresden Files is what it's called. That was recommended recently by a friend of mine, and I've read the first book and I liked it.
Was that turned into a TV show? Or do you know?
Possible.
Okay. Yeah. And then what was the show you said you watch? I remember the other day you were talking about it. I can't remember. And every so often you sneak. Oh, shit. What was it? I can't. Oh, well, that's all right.
This is deer in headlights look. I'm like, I don't know. I watch things sometimes.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah. That doesn't matter.
I do like Yellowstone.
Yeah. Did you watch 1884 yet? The spinoff? No, Becky has. I'm usually down here when she watches it, and she loved it. But I do like Yellowstone. I like when they take people to the bus depot or to the train station.
Yeah, to the train station.
Yeah.
The bus depot.
Yeah, the bus depot. Yeah. You can tell.
Take them to the bus depot.
So this is how I watch shows. Becky watches every episode. And then I come in and I watch a half an hour of one, and then I like it. So I watch another hour and I ask her questions about what I missed. And then I go downstairs and I live stream. And then 3 days later, she'll be a season further along and I'll hop in the middle again. And, so that's how it goes. And that Netflix show, do you know that one? Nope. Anyway, I did that with her too. So yeah.
Yeah.
And Nate says Going Home is a great series. How about nonfiction? What have you read that you liked?
So my all-time favorite homesteading book.
Yep.
Which is not something you would read from cover to cover, except for I did.
Okay.
Is the Encyclopedia of Country Living by Carla Emery.
I thought I heard you mention that before.
And that tells you how to do everything you will ever need to know how to do on a homestead. I don't know why there are any other books in the world.
Is that good?
It's that good. You can look up how to cook a rattlesnake, and you're like, oh, well, sure enough, Carla Emery has how to cook a rattlesnake right there. And
go ahead. Sorry.
It's what? It's a really old book.
I think I've seen. Is it a beige? The old one, a hardcover beige book, or like a cream colored?
Yeah, they're continuing to do iterations of it, and somebody else is editing it because she's died.
Sure.
But it has everything from growing food to saving seeds to butchering animals to, oh crap, I'm pregnant and I can't get to the hospital, home birth, right?
Yeah.
Drying.
Jesus, food. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a really good. If I could only have one book on the homestead, that would be it. It has canning times. It has all of those things.
It's like a homesteading Bible almost, in a sense.
It is. And there are other really good books on that topic. Like, I don't want to discount those, but it's the one. It is an encyclopedia of country living.
I have to do a show sometime on, I don't know. It would be absolutely impossible to put together an entire list of, the essential preparedness and homesteading books, but it sure would be fun to at least make an attempt at putting together a reading list, maybe the top 10 or 20 books, get the community involved in it. I think it would be fun. But
the other good one on wild edibles is Stalking the Wild Asparagus, who I can't remember who that's by, but it's some other dead person.
We're all going that way someday.
All about the dead people. I mean, it's just he aged out, but it talks about wild edibles in North America.
Okay.
So it's more appropriate for North America, and he was, I think, probably in the Pennsylvania region, but all of the plants that he identifies and talks about how to eat them and how to identify them are plants that you can find over most of the United States, not all of it. And it's a good starting point if you're like me, are interested in, I love growing food. However, finding food is way better because I didn't have to put any work in except for finding it.
At least you can supplement.
Yeah.
Lacey says, this was over on Odyssey, but said to always take time to sharpen the saw. And that is,
yep.
My grandfather always said that too, literally and figuratively. But that's great. I mean, how simple, and it's a good reminder.
So I see, which edition do you have of the Encyclopedia of Country Living? I saw that you had that up too. I don't know, but I've had more than one edition, and this is why. I wear that book out. Like the hard copy, wear it out, crap, it's falling apart, order a new one. And every time I order one, I get two, and I give one away. And it's weird. It's like a weird Amazon. I don't know if it's a strategy of the Encyclopedia of Country Living people, but I have probably a 50th anniversary or whatever, 20th anniversary. I don't know what number it is. I'm sure 50 is way too old because I'm old, but I'm not that old. But there was an anniversary edition I got that they update the canning processing times from time to time and that sort of thing. And it really doesn't matter which edition you have.
They all, yeah.
Just get one.
Yeah. I just bought a book the other day that I'd been looking at for a while, and I heard it was really good and it was out of print. And I bought the 1987 edition because I could find it and it was cheap. So whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did that with Doc Bones' book too when I got the new 4th edition of the. Yeah. I sent an extra copy to a friend and I give away the 3rd edition because the information's still good. But I mean, how great is that?
I still haven't gotten that book. I have it in digital only format, which is the worst one for that book.
Yeah, it would be tough. And I don't know. There's something that's I keep saying this. There's something about making your goals public that so I'm working on, and actually, so every Thursday I do an episode called Preparedness, and it's about home repair and whatever. So that series is writing a book for me. So each week I do a series, an episode, and that's part of the outline for a chapter. So my goal is to have a rough copy done by December 31st this year. We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I'm working on it. And, and I also have a goal to have Mike Rowe on my show. I don't know if you.
Yeah, we're working on that, right? We're trying to get
everybody. It's one of those things, you just keep pushing it until somebody somewhere knows the right person and they make the contact for you. But I've reached out and I've been turned down, and I'll keep reaching out because they know who I am. And
one day it might happen.
It will. Maybe not this year, but if it does, great. But I will have him on. I think it'll be great. And plus you got to have what do you call it? A big, hairy, audacious goal or something like that?
Yeah, a BHAG.
Yeah. Why not? Well, you know what? We've been an hour and a half, Nicole. So where do people find you? How do they find you? Where can they reach out?
Well, they find me right here with Toolman Tim Live. That's where they find me. Because it's so easy for us to schedule and have a show happen without anything coming up to interrupt it. And yet we made it happen anyway.
We did. Absolutely. Yes. I loved it. It was great. Thank you.
Yeah. But I've got a podcast called the Living Free in Tennessee podcast. That's at livingfreeintennessee.com. And there you can find my audio podcasts and these events we're talking about. We do processing workshops here as well as open houses. And of course, if you want awesome handcrafted coffee and you live in the U.S., sorry, Canadians, it is hollowroast.com. We can get some over the border, but it's super expensive, and I need to find somebody to smuggle that in or something.
Do you know, I haven't even talked to you. Do you know what we're doing up here? Have you heard what we're trying to do?
I heard you're working with a craft roaster.
Yeah. Because all of my friends who sell amazing coffee all happen to be, I was going to say Yankees, but I discovered the other day that Yankee doesn't mean all Americans. But anyway, that's another story. So all of you guys have incredible coffee, but it's on the other side of the friggin' border, and it either costs an arm and a leg or you can't get it through customs. So we went and discovered that Canadian Coffee Company was not an copyrighted name in Canada. So we have that now. We are one step away from having a website. So yeah, in Canada, but buy Hollow Roast. Yes, because your coffee's so good. I love it.
Well, we'll hook you up with some in about a month.
Yeah, I'll bring some home with me. Absolutely. So,
All right.
yeah. Well, thank you, Nicole. I'm glad we made this happen. Come hell or high water. We
Yeah.
actually
We
got
should do it
together and
again.
I would love to do it again. I'm
Yeah.
yeah. We should. Yeah. I love it. I do it anytime. It's like talking to an old friend when I get to chat with you. So
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on.
yeah, no problem. You can hang in the background for just a second while I shut down and I'll be right back if you're going to be here.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Nicole.
Bye, everybody.
That was awesome. I know I said it, like I already mentioned, but it is like chatting with Nicole is like talking with an old friend. It was 2 years ago. Actually, the original date that I was going to have Nicole on here was 2 years to the day that I launched the YouTube channel over on Living Free in Tennessee. And I appreciate everything she's ever done for me. And she's just an incredible lady. So make sure you check out Living Free in Tennessee. You don't have to be from Tennessee to enjoy her podcast. It's incredible. And yeah, so coming up this week, I'm not going to be on Fireside Freedom, but check out Fireside Freedom. The fire starters are going to be talking about getting real, growing your own food. It's going to be great. Wednesday, I'm going to be on Scramblin' University with Brian Norton. That'll be awesome. And later this week, we might be moving the day around, but I'm going to have Steve, hope I pronounce this right, Steve Honkus from Off Grid 48. You guys kept asking me about wood gasifiers. I knew jack shit about wood gasifiers, so I went out and found somebody who's wrote a book on it, or at least knows a whole hell of a lot about it. So we're going to have him on to tell us all about what wood gasifiers can and cannot do. So anyway, guys, thank you. I tell you this every single week, but you have only so much time to spend every day, and you choose to come and hang out with me for an hour or an hour and a half in the workshop, and I appreciate it. So thank you. And as always, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.